For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Sage Rountree, and I know that sounds like a made-up yoga name, but it is my real name. My parents gave me Sage because they wanted a flower name, so they looked in the Burpee seed catalog. The Burpee still sells seeds. We were at the hardware store last week, and I saw that. So it is, I know, a very evocative name for a yoga teacher. I got Sage from my parents, and thanks, Don, and got Rountree for my husband, Wes. And Rountree has no letter D in it. So if you're coming to look for me on the web, I'm at Sage Rountree with no letter D. But if you type the letter D, you will find me at sageroundtree.com as well. I have been teaching yoga for over 20 years and was trained to be a teacher and trained teachers before that en route to my PhD in English literature. Spent some years along the way teaching in college classrooms. And let me tell you, it is way sweeter to teach a room full of people who, if they do fall asleep, it means you did your job well, than trying to lecture to stony faced undergraduates who, if they fall asleep, means you were not being sufficiently entertaining for them. Oh, fresh yoga teacher. Awesome, Ton. I'm so glad. Um, I specialize in teaching yoga to athletes, and I specialize in an approach to yoga sequencings that is rooted in my background as an endurance athlete and as an endurance sports coach, which is some work that I came to after I left the academy and earned my PhD, did some work in publishing, and then spent some time also as an endurance sports coach, training myself and my athletes for long distance competition, particularly in triathlon, duathlon, and ultra running, and did train folks up to the World Championship age group level in those sports. There is a lot in common between an endurance event and yoga practice. And of course, both are rooted in exercise physiology, which is the framework, the lens through which I view yoga sequencing. I've written 13 books now on yoga and teaching yoga. And the last several have all focused on yoga teachers. So you may know my bestseller, Teaching Yoga Beyond the Poses, which I co-wrote with my collaborator, Alexander Desiato, as well as Teaching Yoga Beyond the Poses Volume 2 that came out 2 months ago now. Also have a recent book called The Art of Yoga Sequencing. So if you're looking for lesson plans for this exercise physiologically based approach to teaching yoga, those are books for you to check out. And if you're interested in growing the business side of your yoga career, I have a book for you called The Professional Yoga Teacher's Handbook. So those are all here to help you. Yeah, it's a lot of books, but that is what I was trained to do. And in fact, just this week signed a contract for another one and have another one in the pipeline after that. So it's the world I know. All of this to say, some of these are literally books that I wrote for yoga teacher trainings, particularly at the 200-hour level. But I do use my own books, and then of course lots of other wonderful books as suggested or required reading when I am teaching at the 300-hour level. I am going to reveal here what we see. Oh, I didn't add an answer, but I think I can skip that. Let's see what we see in what your biggest challenge is in yoga teaching right now. Fun and challenging lesson plans for all students. Yes, Brigitte is in my Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing program that we're going to be talking about here today some as well. Adjusting to different styles of teaching and creating new flows, absolutely. Oh, teaching almost exclusively online. That is fascinating. And then, yeah, okay, great. Y'all are teaching all kinds. That's fantastic because my 300-hour is here to support you in whatever it is that you are teaching. Let me talk you through what is a 300, because this is, I think, a really important question. But before we even get to that, let's talk about what the state of yoga education is, because sometimes we get hung up on these numbers and on wanting to reach for the next brass ring when what matters most is how we can serve our students. Your students probably will never ask you about your certification level. They probably won't even ask you about when or where you did any yoga teacher training at all. Your students are there to feel better. They just want you to guide them toward connection, union, and yoga. And I want to lead, even though this is like officially an orientation/sales call for my program, I want to lead with that by saying, if we remember that serving our students is our number one priority, then you could hang up right now and spend the next 52 minutes like finding better ways to serve your students, and they will be just as happy as if you spent thousands of dollars on further yoga education. So that's my unselling before I move into describing what my program is and what it can do. What is a 300? What is a 500 is another common point of confusion. So the 500 RYT designation. There, can you hear me now? I switched mics. Yeah, that's weird. All right, where did I leave off for you? I was talking about 300 and 500, yeah? So we got that idea that you are completing 500 hours of continuing education and you are paying the Yoga Alliance some money. And the Yoga Alliance is never going to follow up and make sure that you are using the things that you learned. The Yoga Alliance is kind of a shared fiction, but I think it's better than nothing. It is at least an attempt to impose some kind of standards and standards of education around yoga teacher training. You could be a fantastic teacher and never have set foot in a yoga studio. You could be a fantastic teacher and have done thousands of hours of yoga training in Yoga Alliance approved and registered schools. You could have done 1,000 hours of yoga teacher training and not be a very good teacher. So let's not presume that the simple fact of having the credential makes you a good teacher, and neither is the converse true. So having being a good teacher doesn't mean that you necessarily have done yoga education, including a 200 or beyond a 200. So those are all my unselling points, that you do not need a 300 to be a good teacher. You do not need to complete a 300 and give your money to the Yoga Alliance to be helping your students. And that's our number one priority, is to help our students feel connected and liberated, moksha, freedom. So, oh yeah, Tom, I didn't learn many modifications in my 200. Feel like I'm having to play catch up and learn everything on my own. So sad. Yeah, so let me talk you through what I have to offer you if you are interested in getting a 300 now that I have unsold it to you. I'm going to switch our agenda on to the next. And that is to tell you what the bones of my program look like. So there are basically four tracks that you could be taking to get your 300-hour yoga teacher training with me. And by me, I mean me in my virtual studio, Comfort Zone Yoga, and me in my brick and mortar studio that I own here in North Carolina, Carver Yoga Company, also known as Carolina Yoga Company. So if you were to earn your 300 with me, your diploma would say Carolina Yoga Company, because that is the school that I own that is registered with Yoga Alliance. So you'll hear me use Comfort Zone sometimes when I'm talking about things that happen physically at Carver Yoga, and vice versa. There's certainly a track where you could be doing this 300 yoga teacher training from anywhere at all in the world. I have a poll up if you're interested in saying what you're most interested in here. That would be useful for me. So we have 4 tracks through. What you'll see in common with all of these tracks is MMM, delicious, mastering the art of yoga sequencing, a mentorship membership. So there's 3 M's there. It is a culinary theme, but that's kind of neither here nor there. That's just the hook I have, the angle I have into it. But it is a 6-month mentorship program where we will work together collectively as a group, and me and you individually, if needed, one-on-one, to get you comfortable with things like modifications for class, with teaching all levels classes, with teaching private lessons, with setting up and maintaining your yoga website, and so on. Like all the things that you might arrive at the end of your 200-hour yoga teacher training and think, what happens now? Where am I going from here? I'm here to take you on from your 200 and into your career. So that program, the 6-month program, is the pillar on which all of the other options are standing. So everybody who's getting a 300 from me will go through this program at some point. It doesn't have to be the first thing you do. If you are excited about teaching yoga to athletes and you wanted to start with teaching yoga to athletes, that's fine. If you want to start with a workshop that Joe Paul, Naughton Travers, and I are teaching in Carver next weekend on fundamentals, the framework of teaching trauma-informed yoga, you could absolutely start there. If you've already been collecting some continuing education credits, you may already be working on your 300 with me because I'm also very generous about transfer credits and elective credits. So those are the ways that you can go through. You can do and Teaching Yoga to Athletes, which is my signature program. It's been an online course since 2012. It helps you learn to specialize in teaching athletes, but it's at heart a way for you to think through how you can help your students best by thinking about the patterns and habits that they use their bodies and their mind, um, that the use of their bodies and their minds create for them. And you can see how this would play out for athletes. Imagine a hockey goalie has some very particular planes of movement that he or she works in, some pretty wacky things that he or she or they are doing with their legs. The hockey goalie position sometimes has like some really deep internal rotation of the legs. So thinking through like, oh, what would that hockey goalie need to bring balance to their body? And what would that hockey goalie need to help them feel relaxed after the very, very, very high stress job of protecting the net in a hockey game? So you can then extrapolate, oh, once I learn how to think through those things, I could also help long distance truck drivers or gardeners or whatever student population I want to work with because I got familiar with this approach to thinking how my students are using their bodies and their minds and what kind of patterns and habits are created by the things that they do, by their occupations, by their hobbies, and how could I help them find balance to those patterns and habits through yoga. So that's ultimately at heart what Teaching Yoga to Athletes trains you to do. And I'll show you what it looks like inside that course in a little bit. So that's one pathway through. Another pathway through, that non-in-person pathway, would be to take and add together with it online modules. I am soon to roll out, maybe knock on wood as soon as tomorrow, a Fundamentals of Teaching Yin course at Comfort Zone Yoga. I'm building that out. I just need to get all the videos in the right places today and tomorrow before it goes up for sale. Uh, that is soon to be joined by Fundamentals of Teaching Balance, which is another one that is already existing in partial format. Joe Paul's Fundamentals or Framework of Teaching Trauma Sensitive Yoga will eventually become an online module here at Comfort Zone. And down the road, I'll be adding Teaching Yoga Nidra, Teaching Gentle Yoga, Teaching Restorative Yoga, teaching mindfulness, meditation, breath work. And we have Sutra Study coming up this summer with my collaborator, Alexandra Desiato, and with Maria Luther Phelps. They are doing a 2-hour CEU workshop on June 4th. And then that is building us up to a 4-week series that happens on Wednesdays in July. And you can read about all of that at comfortzoneyoga.com. So that is another example of an online module that would go toward your 300-hour with me. Here's another little vagary of the Yoga Alliance. To get to 300 YTT, you need to do 270 hours of education. Counts for 150. So then you're looking at another 120 hours. And each of these modules is around 12 hours. So you're thinking for your budget and your brain to think, okay, I'm going to be putting together 6 of these modules. And once I've collected enough of them to bundle and discount, I will eventually find some way to let you just get to all of them at the same time, and then you work your way through them. So that's the and online modules. Then there are these in-person modules in North Carolina. As I said, Joe Paul and I are teaching Framework for Teaching Trauma-Sensitive Yoga next weekend at Carberry Yoga. And the fourth pathway through is electives of your choice. Maybe you've already done a yin yoga training. You can count those credits. I will count those credits, those transfer credits for you. Maybe you've done prenatal yoga, which is an 85-hour program if it was the Yoga Alliance registered program. So you're already going to be a lot of the way closer to your 300 than you might think because of this generous transfer credit policy. So there are 4 ways to go through here. I'm going to stop poll. There we go. All right. Everybody's into online. Cool, because that brings me then into showing you what things look like inside Comfort Zone Yoga online, because it's tough to imagine what would it look like to do this mentorship online? What would it look like to do Teaching Yoga to Athletes online? I'm going to share my screen and show you what it looks like. Share this one. Show all. This is the one. Here we go. All right. I think you can see that. Yes? Cool. This is my view of Circle. Circle is the platform where Comfort Zone Yoga is housed. And if you are part of any other Circle based communities, then you will see them showing up in your left hand sidebar. So you see some of my other Circle communities, including this is Meta, the Circle community, which is the way that Circle onboards its community hosts. Circle has a lot of really amazing features that I will show you as we go through here. One is this very strong search feature. So you could go through and think, I remember Sage was talking about something about rotation of the shoulder, and type the word rotation and pull up every single post that you would have access to that would show you the word rotation or its variations. Rotate, rotators, rotating. Pretty cool. Circle also has built in now some AI agents. I've built these out last week. So even if you're only in the zone, the free space, you will be able to come through and ask questions of this agent. And I've suggested some questions. So you could ask it, when is the monthly live call? I want to know. It will pull you this. And if it's doing its job, yep, it will point you right to the space where you could then come through and do a free live call next week. At this time, we are meeting to discuss when students go rogue in class. I think that's going to be a really fun conversation. Love to have you there. By the way, because I am ERYT 500, any time that you spend studying with me counts as continuing education credits. So each of these free calls offers a CEU, 1 CEU per hour. So I would love to have you come through and chat with me about what happens when students get a little wild in class, and you'll get a CEU. You'll notice here at Comfort Zone Conversations, the list of all the currently scheduled calls. All right. So that's something that the AI agent could show you. But let's look and see what it looks like inside. When you enroll in which you could do as early as today, right now on the call, after the call, you will get access to all of these spaces you see here underneath Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing. There are a lot. I'll give you a quick tour, like a bird's eye view through. But I've done a lot of work in the onboarding space here so that you don't feel confused when you come in and think, whoa, a 6 months of content, I'm going to get through it in 6 days. No, you don't need to. We're going to take our time walking you through. So I give you a little visual of what things look like. And then you have this checklist. Mise en place is a cooking term that the chef would use when they come into their kitchen. It's getting everything set up exactly where it needs to be. All your equipment in place, all your little bowls, prepping all of your vegetables, and so on. So this walks you through. There's a workbook that goes along with the course, and give you a quick peek at that. When you click on it, it'll make a copy right into your Google Drive, so you don't have to remember where it is. It'll always exist in your Google Docs. And it talks you through each of the 4 modules inside this, each of the 6 modules inside this 6-month course. Roughly a module per month, but you are invited to jump around. Like if you were super stoked about theming, you love teaching yoga beyond the poses, you would come through the workbook and work on all of these exercises, key to getting you to be a better themer in your yoga class. There are also some marketing tips, some things that you can do to get your bio in great order. And I and your colleagues inside of Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing will be here to help you with peer review, which we'll see when we get to Tasters Please. So that's the first of the onboarding. Then I give you some tasks to complete in your first hour, in your first day, in your first week, and in your first month. And after that, 1 a month, I'm just keeping you on track with the modules that you will go through. The modules you will see in Essential Techniques. So I'm going to pull this up for you here in the view you would have. Module 1 is to see where you are at the beginning of the program. That's why there's an intake form. That's why your very first exercise is to do a self-recording and self-review using video or audio, if that's what it takes to get you to actually do it in your class. You're then also invited to share your recording with your colleagues inside of the mentorship program and get really invaluable feedback from your colleagues. So that's number one. Step number two is then to try to make your class as inclusive a container as you can, including mixed levels in class, including students with special needs in your class. And then we move on from there to designing for specific populations. So if module two is about including everyone, module 3 is about teaching to one person in a private lesson or in a workshop situation. Module 4, as you already saw from the workbook, is theming. Module 5 is you starting to build your own recipes. We'll talk about recipes in a second. And module 6 is to see where you're going next. So this is a 6-month curriculum that you move through. Speaking of recipes, every month there's a featured recipe of the month, which means it's a lesson plan that I write out and iterate for you. It is always the one that I have taught in the month before, so it's really fresh in my mind. And the first of these that we did together in the beta testing here was called Balance Play Trio. So this is what a recipe card would look like. You would get access to a fresh one of these every month. And then, of course, the backlog for all the previous months. You get to follow along with this recipe as a student. So this clicks you through to a video where there's roughly an hour practice for you to take as a student. All of the constituent parts broken down in demo format for you, and then some video ideas illustrating in case these descriptions don't work for your brain. So I show you all these different ways that you could change things over the course of a month or so that in week 1, you teach this recipe as written, you serve as written. And in the second week, you could then start to swap out a few things. It all depends on your student population. But I want to give you a sense of the kind of recipe you'll get in here, and we can have a discussion in the comments about the recipe itself. These recipes are also broken down for you live once a month. At the first Tuesday of every month, we have a recipe implementation call. That call is led by me. We meet on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. with a record. So if that time doesn't work for you, you can always follow along with the replay. I lead a little bit of movement based on the recipe, so you get to experience it as a student. We do about half an hour of co-working. So you start to think, oh, how will I use this particular lesson plan for my specific unique student population? And then we get back together for the last 15 minutes of the hour and troubleshoot, answer questions, and so on. That's the first live call I do every month. The second live call of each month is a user-directed call where you get to ask your questions, anything at all. It could be about lesson planning. It could be about your website. It could be about what you should be charging for this private lesson or this corporate class that you've been working on booking. That is just a wide open, little, very supportive teachers lounge conversation that we have the second live call of every month, the third, generally Tuesday of the month. You'll also see in here announcements from me, what our next recipe is going to be, and so on. A place where we can ask each other questions, a place where you can share something sweet that other people might like to take to class. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this concept of the cookie swap. I was talking to one of my coaches who's in England, and I said, do you know what a cookie swap is? She didn't know, but here in the American South, a cookie swap is a party where you bring a plate of your finest cookies and an empty cookie tin, and you set out the plate, and you take your tin, and you take cookies from everybody else's plates, and so you wind up with this great assortment. That's the concept behind this space, the cookie swap. Then we also have a Tasters Please section where you can ask for peer review and peer feedback. I am still building out some expanded techniques. This is going to be like website specific, newsletter specific, some business techniques come in here. And then this is the pantry. It is your non-perishable information. This is some of my older courses that I collected here into a mega course. So we go very deep in sequencing concepts here. If you like the art of yoga sequencing, you'll love the sequencing course. There's a whole course on classroom management and safety, including first aid. There's a whole course on content creation in here. That is the majority of what you would see inside Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing. There also is, to pair with the recipes, a theme space. We call it the beverage cart. And these are all the themes you see in Teaching Yoga Beyond the Poses, both volumes, plus a few little extra bonuses. So you could go through, click through, and see this as something that you could read out from directly in class or take and riff on as your own as you go. So that's what's inside the Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing side. Lily, let me just answer your question right now while I see it and it's on my brain. You said you weren't sure what the in-person options would be. Will all the onlines be offered as in-person as well? Perhaps, but perhaps not. I'm not sure. Some things have to happen in person, like assists, which Alexandra just taught earlier this year. And that was one of the modules toward the 300. It would be very strange to do assists in an online format. Other things don't have to happen in person. And in fact, I think include more people if they happen online, like Sutra Study, which is that's funny because that's another Alexandra module. But that, it's easier if we don't have to drive, just because you don't want to spend 9 hours, I think, talking about the Yoga Sutras in the course of a weekend. But 2 hours once a week for 4 weeks sounds a lot more palatable and interesting. So the answer is it depends, but there will be a way for you within the course of a year or two to be all in on I just want to do all my modules in person beyond the mentorship, or I just want to do them all online. That is my best answer for you there. So that's what Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing looks like. Let me show you what it looks like inside Teaching Yoga to Athletes, because this could be the other half of your experience if you do want to go through this 300. It's similar in its setup to what you saw inside the mentorship program, in that there's this onboarding space that walks you through everything you want to do, that takes you to the various spaces within. Encircle each of these blue things are hyperlinks. So this is kicking us through to the equipment room, which is where you would pick up your workbook, and you could get a private podcast version of the lectures or an ebook version of the lectures. Sometimes I think people are afraid to go through an online course because I can't imagine sitting and watching video for hours and hours on end, especially if you're thinking, oh, this is a 300-hour yoga teacher training. I don't want to watch 300 hours of anybody talking to me on video. Don't worry. That's not how it works. The lectures are only a small part of all of the things that you get inside of these online courses. And I do try to give them to you in a variety of formats, including, yes, video with closed captions that you can speed up or slow down. Also, the videos have searchable transcripts, but you can also put them right on your Kindle as an ebook, or listen to the lectures as a private podcast and then refer to the slides for your visual side of things. So there are a bunch of templates in here. Just to give you an example, you click through and you could see some pitch samples for teams. It is a Google Doc. So almost everything that you'll find in here is going to be either housed right on Circle or in this Google Doc. So you can just cut and paste. This is how you get the gig with a team. So there's this onboarding space that walks you through everything that happens, strategy calls with me, introductions, and so on. This has a really extensive curriculum, and here's what the curriculum looks like inside of Teaching Yoga to Athletes. In fact, this is what a course space looks like inside of Circle here. So we go through, there are videos. As I said, they have a searchable transcript. So you could type anything in here and it will pull it up, which is nice if you're I think it was in this video, I'm not sure. You can go through and find in this format. And then once you've finished a lesson, you check it off and it shows as complete. It's very gratifying to get that green check mark over here. So the Teaching Yoga to Athletes curriculum has 5 main lessons to it. The philosophy of teaching yoga to athletes, the physiology, the psychology, the pedagogy, that just means the teaching side of things, and then the profession, including, as I said, getting the gig, ways that you can pitch teams, ways that you can sell private lessons, and so on. So you get a whole lot of very specific support from me inside this course. And then there's some bonus stuff from live versions of this that I have taught in the past. Like the mentorship program, there are some Q&A space. We have office hours in here. Each of these spaces has a little taster for you. So in this one, it's called Scouting Report for Teaching Yoga to Athletes. You can click through here and get a little preview. Same thing for this tasting menu space for the mentorship membership. So those are the two biggest, most robust pieces that currently exist. Then you have these modules online. So there's Sutra Study, as I said, that's going to have 4 live calls. So you can come through, sign up, and say you're going to those. They're going to happen right here in this virtual space. Then the other little modules are getting built out right now. Teaching Yin Yoga is in some kind of shape at this moment. So I will show it to you. I'm still actively moving these lessons around yesterday, but that has lectures in it for you to click through and get that gratifying green check mark. It also has some follow along portions to it. Let me get us back into the curriculum there. So that you can experience the class as a student. This is an important part of this method I've been teaching called SERVE. You structure your class based on exercise physiology. Then you experience it as a student. Your ongoing studentship is really a critical part of your development as a teacher, and I try never to overlook that. So I'm always trying to give you opportunity to practice with me or with others and experience things as a student, because if you aren't keeping your own practice alive and fresh, you're not growing as a teacher. That is happening down here, experiencing as a student. Then we go through and we share in these modules our lesson plans with each other. So you'll see if I click us through course materials that there is, you guessed it, another Google Doc. Let's see. Oh, isn't there? Where was it? I've lost wherever this was, but there is a Google Doc. You can believe me on this. That is collection of Yin Yoga lesson plans. So when you finish this course, part of your homework to complete and earn your CEUs or your 300-hour credit is to give me a set of 3 lesson plans that illustrate that you have mastered the material, which is really important because, as I said, the Yoga Alliance is never going to come through and audit you and figure out whether you are paying attention to the things that you theoretically learned inside of the course. Do you have anything while I'm still screen sharing that you would like me to expand from over here on the left? Are you like, "Oh, I'm dying to see this or that?" If so, you can pop them in the chat and I will show them to you. And while you think about that and maybe type in the chat what you'd like me to show on still screen sharing, I'll point out that along with mastering the art of yoga sequencing, you get access to a really extensive follow along movement library. There are dozens of full length classes and then some shorter things like a snack, a yoga snack, a little 30-minute practice that you could do here. These are so, again, that you can experience things as a student and then take them as inspiration, as lesson plans that you might use in your own class. All right. Well, that is a very quick look then inside of the circle space. Let me show you one more thing here. And Brigitte, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this, but inside Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing, you also get access to a Notion database. Notion, if you're not familiar with it, is this extremely powerful software that people use for task management, for project management, sometimes for website creation even. And I have built a big database in here that has all the lesson plans that are currently existing inside of the mentorship, all the sequences from the Art of Yoga Sequencing, my book, including with these sequences. So the crane flow is one of the parts of the balance play trio recipe that I showed you. So you can see the constituent parts, but then you also get it in a demo video and a follow along video. So this is a way that you can refresh your memory about what goes into each sequence. And if you are familiar with Notion or want to get handy, you can build your own sequences based on the building blocks here. You can be dragging these all together into a lesson plan. It's extremely powerful. And the Yin course is going to have its own separate database. So that's another cool little thing that you will get inside of Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing. I'm going to click off my screen share so I can see y'all better. And I am going to let my voice rest and let y'all ask me some questions. What questions can I answer for you? You could pop them in the chat, or you can hit the M button to get yourself off mute and come on mic and ask me out loud. Go ahead, Lily.
So, I am in the Charlotte area, and I was really drawn to your program because I love that the mastering sequence part was in online, kind of on my own time, but that I had opportunities for doing in-person things because I'm not that far. Do you
Yep.
have a list of what you're planning on releasing, like in the next year or so, so I can kind of try to plan my schedule around that if I were to go forward with something like this?
Yes. I already mentioned the online modules that are rolling out. So we got Yin coming very soon, Balance coming very soon. I just taught Balance live earlier this spring. In fact, one of your fellow yoga teachers from Charlotte was there for that. I think it's perfect for Charlotteans. Charlotte, y'all, is 2.5 hours from Carborough, so it's a perfect, like, oh, I think I'll just go up for the weekend. And the way that we schedule the in-person modules, we do as there's a little bit of free work that you complete online, some reading, some follow along videos. Then we meet for 6 hours on Saturday and 3 hours on Sunday. So you could even drive up on Saturday morning and spend Saturday night, and then you're done at lunch on Sunday. So you can still get home before dark, which is like, I think, having traveled to do my own 500, I think it was really useful to like get out a little early on Sunday. So that's why we schedule things like that. So Yin is coming online, Balance is coming online. Then some of the softer side of stuff is also coming online soon-ish. Yoga Nidra and restorative. I may do restorative in person this fall as well, TBD. I will do something in person this fall. I'm not quite sure what. We've got trauma sensitive with Joe Paul, who's a therapist and a fantastic yoga teacher, just next weekend. And then Alexandra will do assists again pretty soon because she loves it so much. So I don't know that it will be fall, but it would probably be in the spring. We don't have hard and fast dates for that yet because I need to sit down with our 200-hour schedule and think, all right, where are the weekends that the room isn't getting used for that? Because we have a dedicated training room that we use almost exclusively for yoga teacher trainings. And we only use it for classes a couple nights a week. So I have one. It's kind of inchoate in my head right now, and I do need to get it down and like actually commit and put pen to paper. Like, what am I going to teach this fall? So it's coming soon. Um, Another question that people have, I know about timeline is like, is there a time limit? It used to be before the pandemic, we had a robust 300-hour yoga teacher training, and we would lead up to 3 versions of our 200 every year in various formats, weekend, weekday, and summer intensive. And then, of course, the pandemic just scratched the needle off the record there. But back in the day, we had a hard 5-year timeline for our 300. And we're like, if you can't finish it in 5 years, like you don't want to finish it, right? So, well, I don't want you to drag on beyond 5 years because who knows how long I'm going to stay alive. You know, lifetime access is always a difficult thing to promise. I want to have it as something that you can complete within a year or 2 years by offering you enough in person and enough online that you could pick and choose between the two to get through that half of things within a year or 2 years.
So the in-person things might be once a quarter, couple of times a year.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you can count on 2, 3, 4 of them happening a year, somewhere between a quarter and a couple times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great question. Let's see. There was something else about schedule. Oh, yes, that I wanted to say. And that is that Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing, the mentorship membership is open for enrollment and it's rolling enrollment. So you can start today if you want to. You'd have immediate access. Our next call would be 2 weeks from last Tuesday. So 10 days or so, you'd be on your first live call and you could be working through the curriculum on that right away. It also is there for you. It's not like there's open cart, closed cart cohort because it's rolling admission. You can sign up in a month or tomorrow or, in December, whenever you feel like, now I have the bandwidth and the money to pay for it. It's $1,800 no matter how you pay. So you can do the lump payment or you can do 3 installments, and there's no surcharge on installments. So it is there for you however you want to do it and whenever you want to do it. What other questions can I answer? Don't make me play the cricket sound again, as much as I like. Brigitte, can I put you on the spot and say that you are in MMM? Um, so if you have anything to say about what you've been experiencing in there so far, I'd love to hear. And if anybody has a question specifically about what it's like on the student side, Brigitte is the one to ask.
I have been experiencing, well, it made my lesson planning easier, and I've had more feedback from my students.
I love it. And was it because
Yes.
you expressly asked them for feedback? Because I know that's something that we talked about. No, they just said,
Yeah,
hopefully it's good feedback.
it is. Most of the time, this is great. Oh, this felt good. I'm like, okay. And now, maybe because I'm more approachable, they also come back with feedback for other stuff, saying, well, we
Great.
couldn't really hear you from where we said, okay, next time I'll just speak out more. Or
Awesome.
please do not mirror while you're teaching. I've been working so hard going, okay, left, right. Nope, don't, because it messes most of them up. Okay, fine. No mirroring.
I love it. I love it. I love that they do feel comfortable sharing so that you can help them better. That's absolutely wonderful
Yeah.
to hear. Any other
And then
questions? Go ahead.
the monthly get-togethers to plan also really work,
Yeah.
because you've got the bulk of it already done, and you can just add depending on whatever happened last week.
Yeah, I agree. I love focus groups, focus sessions, accountability groups. I just eat it up. Because I get a lot done even in that half an hour. Like on this week's call, I have built out the Notion lesson plan to go along with the recipe. So that was a great use of my time. It held me accountable. Being on video, I find really useful for like, I can't mess around. I can't pick up my phone. I just need to get the work done. And yeah, the model that I teach, in case this wasn't like expressly, I think it's implicit when you see the recipe card, but I am suggesting that you do not change your lesson plan every single week. I think that is exhausting for you and your teaching brain, and I know that it is not the way your students are going to learn best. I fear that many yoga teachers feel obligated to make their class sexy, exciting, and new every time, and that is not what your students want. They don't need it to be interesting. They just need it to help them feel better. So, my job in mentoring you is to get you comfortable with repetition, to get you okay with not feeling like you're spending all of your time in planning, and to actually celebrate the power and the confidence that will radiate from you when you walk into class knowing that you're going to do the same thing you did the week before, and maybe only just with a few tiny tweaks, just because they're fun or because they're building. um, it's a real game changer for your students. It's something that I have come to quite late in my yoga teaching career. For a very long time, I would do something different every class, and my classes have never sold out quicker than they do now. And it's like the first week of the month, we get a new lesson plan, but that's what we're doing over the course of the month with some little variations every time. If you don't get it if you don't get it, like if you find it challenging in the first week as a student, you're going to get another crack at it if you come back next week and the week after. And students can see a whole lot of progress in this model, in ways that are just super gratifying for them. They really get to learn the sequences. They really get to learn their movements and how their bodies respond to them and how they can best express it next week and the next week and the next week. It's absolutely a win all around for you and for them.
Or start to move on there by themselves.
Yes, I love that. When you see they already like intuitively know what the next pose is in the sequence is so gratifying. Lily, you were saying something.
I was going to ask if you could maybe give an example of what are the tiny little tweaks that you might add that keep it spicy yet keep it the same, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Sure. So we might take the same we might do a sequence in the first week of the month where we do dancer pose on the left and then dancer pose on the right. And then tree pose on the left and then tree pose on the right and eagle on the left and eagle on the right. Dancer, tree, eagle. Then the next week, maybe we go from dancer into tree pose on the left. And then we go from dancer into tree pose on the right. Now we've just changed the load and the duration of the hold, the amount of time we're standing on one leg. So it's a little harder, but this poses at least are familiar from the previous week. Then maybe in week 3, we go from dancer to tree on into eagle. And it's like, okay, now we've like made this daisy chain a little bit longer. And maybe on week 4, we do the opposite. We do eagle pose first and play with moving from eagle pose to tree pose and maybe back and forth. So the constituent parts would be the same. They're just presented in a slightly different way. It's kind of like, I always try to wedge a food analogy onto everything, but it is kind of like taking your leftovers and like putting them, into an omelet. It's like, oh, we've got these vegetables left over from yesterday. What am I going to do with them? There's not enough to make a whole meal out of. Oh, let's combine it with some other things. And that way we're like layering on and taking things, and it's a lot less wasteful. And it's often leftovers taste better than the first night you cook them because the flavors really get to come together. So that's just that's a down and dirty example of how it would be. But if you look, Lily, in Comfort Zone, underneath book resources, there's the greatest hits lesson plan, and it will show you a way that you could iterate that very example over the course of 4 weeks. And also some ways that you can tweak the same recipe in a variety of classes over the week. So many folks are teaching like a gentle class and a flow class. It's like you can still use a lot of the same ingredients in both. We just present them really differently. One is like kind of prepackaged, simple, easy, like take on the go. There's your gentle. And then the other one might be more like high molecular gastronomy, like let's make it fancy for the flow people. But the constituent elements are still there and they're still the same because they're based on sound movement, on exercise physiology. They're based on moving bodies in every plane, forward and back, side to side, round and round, 6 moves of the spine. They target the front line of the hips, the back line of the hips, the inside of the hips, the outside of the hips, the 4 lines of the leg, as I like to call it. They challenge the core to be stabilized in poses like plank or downward facing dog, or even just mountain pose with your arms moving around, stabilization work for the core. And they also offer some articular movement of the spine. So that's articular work of the core. And that's the 6, the 4, the 2 is one of the frameworks I like to use for checklisting that my class is balanced. Its analogy is the macronutrients that you need to have in the course of your diet and your day, if not every meal that keep you functioning in your body. So you need to have some protein, you need to have some carbs, and you need to have some fat, or your body is not going to continue to operate for a long time. So
Okay.
that's the balance. Yeah. Yeah. That took a detour.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions I can answer for y'all? I'm going to look back at the poll results. Yeah, I just always see the same themes emerging. It's like, how can I include as many people as possible in my class? That's why that's the second module in the mentorship. After the first module where you're seeing where you are, it's thinking, how can I, create a container that has room for the 50-year-olds and the 70-year-olds at the same time, or that has room for, sometimes my class is literally like last summer, I would have 20-year-old NFL player. He just got drafted. So a 20-year-old football player and a 73-year-old woman who then had to go and like have plantar fasciitis injections for an injury that she had. So that is quite a range of people in class. But to be able to have them both in the same class, like next to each other, mat to mat, that takes a little bit of forethought and planning, but is 100% doable, and that's what Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing is here to help you with.
If no one else has a question, I've been listening to your podcast kind of to do a little research, and I find myself as a demo teacher. I teach a lot of gentle. People don't feel so secure in doing the poses on their own, so they like to see me doing them. But I find it very difficult to see the students while I'm doing that. But I know the longer I do it, the more I'm going to be reliant on it. And I was wondering if these classes in this 300 offer opportunities to branch away from that and help guide me to get to a point where they feel comfortable and I feel I can see the students better.
I hope so. I know that's something that Brigitte has been working on as well. And I'll start by saying I don't think it's necessarily wrong, and I think you understand this because you said I can't see them if I'm demoing all the time, but I don't think that it's wrong to demo. And this is not what I hear you saying, but I imagine that a lot of teachers think I'm not advanced if I'm demoing. Like I need to be able to just do it all verbally, and I don't think that's the case. There are plenty of formats, including beginners and some gentle and trauma-informed yoga, where the teacher needs to stay on there and like not walk around and make people nervous or triggered. So demoing itself is not a bad thing, but it is a bad thing when it means you can't see how your cues are landing. Yeah. So my top tip there would be repetition of the sequence, both within each class and across time, will get enough students in the room familiar with what you're asking them to do with their bodies that they will serve as demo for the others in the room.
Okay.
Which is a good thing. Because as Brigitte says, when you see your students already know the next pose, you're like, okay, now we're cooking. Like now we've got this, like we know this song, as it were. And then once you know the song and you know the melody, then you can start to harmonize and you can start to do a solo and you can take things in interesting directions. But until you have that baseline of repetition and familiarity, it's going to be tough, to introduce anything new and not show it at the same time. Brigitte, do you have any feedback on Lily's question?
What I do nowadays is because I do repeat the same flow. I say I'll do it with you all once, so we do it all together, and the second and third time I'll talk you through it, so I can stand, look, and then I can actually see what I'm. And most of them actually keep looking at me, but it's the starting because it's there. I think it also has to do with the confidence of the students. Can we do it while you're just looking at me? Yeah, you can.
Yeah, exactly. Often I will demo and talk through the first round. Say I'm doing several rounds of a movement, demo and talk through the first round, especially on the first side. And then the second time through, I will demo a little less, might even say a little less. And then the third time through, I say, you got this. I'm going to go stand over in the corner, and I kind of get out of the way. And that lets me have a chance to look at them. But then it's also kind of proof of concept, like, hey, we can do this ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something that definitely comes around with practice. And it's something that I think if you explicitly say to your students, I want to not demo so I can see you and make sure that my cues are landing and maybe offer you ways to make these shapes feel even better in your body. I mean, if they understand why you're not doing it, they're going to have more buy-in as to like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like, all right, she's not just looking at us because she wants to correct us. She's looking at us because she wants to help us feel even better in these poses. But demo itself is not necessarily bad. And also the other thing, it's not just gentle and trauma enforced, like depending on the studio culture, there may be an expectation. Like the teachers always show, and that's the way it is. And, recognizing that can be helpful too. If y'all come up with other questions, you know where to find me, sage@sagerountree.com. Send me a DM on Comfort Zone or social media. I'm going to put up a replay of this call in Comfort Zone a little later on today once the call is all rendered. As I said, everything is open to you. It's rolling admission. I will work on getting together a firmer calendar for what may be happening in person later on in the year. I'm going to go build up my in-course a little bit more so that that can get online. And I am here for you if you have questions about anything related to your teaching problem in the zone. I'm happy to come in there and answer. And I'm so grateful to folks like you who are interested in being better teachers when you come through Comfort Zone and answer other people's questions and get engaged, because there is a really burgeoning community of folks in there. We have over 500 people in the zone. It's a little quiet in there, and I would love to see some community in there because I know there are a bunch of folks, especially folks who are currently in and fresh out of their 200, who are really excited to serve their students and feeling nerves about it. So the more big sister mentorship that we can give them, the quicker they're going to step into their dharma and help their students at the best of their ability. So there's your call to action. And I hope to see y'all next week on the Handling the Unexpected call next Thursday. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your time and attention.